Okay, class, so I wanted you to read through the NTSB report. I'll go over that right now. We're trying to determine the author's particular point of view. We talked about the purpose being to inform, but what is the point of view? What's the main idea? And we're going to be comparing this with the man in the water, and we're going to look for conflicting information as well. So as we said in the previous video, the NTSB report is an official government document. Their job to analyze months of data. They took months to put this forth. This came out in August. And so they were just giving you the facts after lots of eyewitness reports, after using scientific analysis and so forth. They need to inform the public what actually happened. So this is government form, it's strictly facts. There's no opinion. Okay? It's very formal. So when we take a look at the abstract here, okay, this is a form, and you can see the report date. It came out in August. The incident occurred on January 13th, 1982. All right, it says on this date, a Boeing 737, that's a formal name of the aircraft, was a scheduled flight to Fort Lauderdale, Florida from Washington National Airport. There were 74 passengers, including 3 infants, 5 crew members. The flight's scheduled departure was delayed for about an hour and 45 minutes due to a moderate to heavy snowfall, which necessitated the temporary closing of the airport. You need to remember. And Rosenblatt's commentary, he said it was the snow's fault. It was nature's fault. Following takeoff from runway 36, which was made with snow and or ice adhering to the aircraft at 16:01 Eastern Standard Time, so that's 4:01 p.m., crashed into the barrier wall of the northbound span of the 14th Street Bridge, which connects the District of Columbia with Arlington County, Virginia, and plunged into the ice-covered Potomac River. It came to rest on the west side of the bridge, just 3/4 of a mile from the departure end of runway 36. So the flight only went 0.75 miles. Okay, 3/4 of a mile. That's it. 4 passengers and 1 crew member survived the crash. When the aircraft hit the bridge, it struck 7 occupied vehicles and then tore away a section of the bridge barrier and wall and the bridge railing. 4 persons in the vehicles were killed, 4 were injured. You're going to see more of that part of the accident very soon. It gives you some the key words. Talks about how this is distributed, and it fits up the abstract summary. It says the NTSB determines that the probable cause of this accident was the flight crew's failure to use engine anti-ice during ground operation and takeoff. Their decision to take off with snow or ice on the airfoil surfaces of the aircraft, and the captain's failure to reject the takeoff during the early stage when his attention was called to anomalous engine instrument readings. Contributing to the accident were the prolonged ground delay between de-icing and the receipt of ATC takeoff clearance, during which the airplane was exposed to continual precipitation, the known inherent pitch-up characteristics of the B-737 aircraft when the leading edge is contaminated with even small amounts of snow or ice, and the limited experience of the flight crew in jet transport winter operations. So again, as we think about comparing this to Rosenblatt's commentary, Rosenblatt's commentary is very hard and negative, has a very strong negative tone towards nature. This has a very negative tone towards man. It says it was the flight crew's failure. Now, what's really cool, you can take a look at this. Again, it's very formal. It has lots of data and specific details. I just want to show you, you can read through, you can actually read what is stated by the pilot and the co-pilot. Okay, and it's very interesting what they're saying, and you know, this idea that there was a false sense of security by de-icing. Right here it says, boy, this is a losing battle here on trying to de-ice those things. It gives you a false feeling of security. That's all that does. All right, saying, well, we don't need to be de-iced, whatever. Okay, and if you continue through, you can read more of that. This is a pretty neat map. Okay, so this is, again, Washington National Airport, Reagan. It's called now Reagan National Airport. This was, I think Reagan has just become president, if I'm not mistaken, and only been there a little bit. Anyway, so it takes off from right here, from this runway. So a plane takes off, and it crashes right here. 3/4 of a mile, that's it. All right, and where it says 98765 and 10, these are all eyewitnesses. If you look at the key, I believe it says that somewhere else, but so the Pentagon was over here and so forth. This was the Potomac River, and yeah, so it's pretty amazing. Okay, so as we take a look at the details here, your job We already went through this top portion. Okay. You're finding text evidence. What were the most details given? Where we have a lot of different ideas here about how many passengers there were, right? 4 passengers and 1 crew member survived the crash. Gives you lots of different remarks. Again, if you were to look through, I got really into this, so I was reading a little bit more and what they were stating here. They had some conflict over the instrument panel about what it was reading. Okay, and again, it talks about how many people died. Okay, so the tone of the document is very neutral in one regard. Okay, we have to be careful when we describe tone. Tone is the author's attitude. All right, it is neutral throughout. Yes, it's saying a lot of bad things, and I know I'm kind of contradicting myself. Overall, it's saying that it was man's fault. And so anytime you're blaming somebody, obviously that's a negative tone, right? But the adjectives, the adverbs that are used are only providing specific details. When we take a look here and we read this, as we go back up into the document, all right, obviously, it says it was the flight crew's failure. It doesn't say they were idiots for what they did, right? It's not they're trying to be as neutral as they can, but unfortunately the facts show that it was man's fault. Okay, so there's no opinion other than analysis based on the facts. And so when we take a look at this, well, what is the point of view? Well, the central idea is that the plane crashed due to human error and not de-icing the plane before takeoff. That is the main idea of the entire report. Okay, so later on in August, this would have been really hard for, I'm sure, the surviving family members, particularly the pilots, to find out that it was their fault, that all those people died because they didn't bother to de-ice the plane. They didn't bother to take the time and look through all the details to make sure everything was correct in terms of the instrument. Okay, so next thing I want you to do here, all right, we already jotted down text evidence. Now you're going to compare the two. All right, the NTSB report with the man in the water. What are some of the basic similarities, right? What is the conflicting information? What's the overall tone of both? And what's the craft and structure? We've talked about that a little bit. Okay, so what you should have in there as you take a minute to do that, obviously the plane at the bridge, the weather was bad. That's clear in both, right? The conflicting information is that the NTSB report says human error, and it doesn't mention the man in the water. You could read through the whole report, and if I'm not mistaken, because I've done some searches, I have not seen anything that says anything about the man in the water passing the lifeline. Okay, whereas obviously in the man in the water commentary, it says the weather was at fault and the man in the water was there, passing on life to others. And Rosenblatt surmised that maybe it was mechanical error, and that's not true. So the overall tone of the NTSB report is neutral. It's fact-based. It is obviously negative toward him because it's saying man did something wrong. Okay, but the tone is technically neutral. It's focused on the fact. What it says is certainly alarming towards man, but the tone that they're using, the word choice to say that, is neutral. Okay, man in the water is very positive towards humanity, very negative towards nature, and focuses on heroism. Okay, so we're going to stop. And craft and structure, obviously, it's a government form and versus a commentary. It has strong imagery and a strong tone. So the new understanding, because that's one of our purpose, one of our learning targets, is to understand that when we take on different documents about the same subject, we're going to get some new understandings. And one of those things we got is that over 70 people died, and it was due to human error. Okay, and that's very alarming. We didn't know that information. Rosenblatt didn't know that information when he wrote that magazine commentary, within a week of it happening. Okay, because the information was still coming forward. So just to kind of recap things here, all right, some of the key items from the NTSB report is that it focuses on the human error. The failure to de-ice the plane was the pilot's fault. Okay, they didn't de-ice the plane. They took off with no one on the plane. The captain's failure to take off after reading the engine warnings. We get the different facts. We know that's January 1982. We know the name of the flight number. We know that it only traveled quarters of a mile and hit a bridge. Okay, it hit some vehicles. 4 people died. 4 people were on the bridge. 74 people were on board the plane. Okay, 4 passengers and 1 crew member survived. That was it. So again, as we compared the two, we see very clearly the differences in the main idea, the difference in the purpose too. Okay, the man on the water to inform and entertain. It's meant to give an analysis. Here, there's supposed to be no partiality. So we talked about the similarities and the differences. So make sure you jot that down. And I'll put that up there again. All right. So we're going to continue on. We wrote an objective summary. We're identifying tone. We took a look at the point of view. We compared the text and we analyzed for conflicting information. We're going to do the same thing with a very brief news broadcast. So we'll stop here.